Hi again, I am Kayla, and welcome to video training module number 4, part 1, drawing an order with allocated time slots using the standard drawn order option in Equus Organizer. Since COVID, most equestrian centres and riding clubs have made the decision to move to taking entries and payment in advance for most, if not all, equestrian events. This makes life a lot easier for both the competitors and the event organisers, as the entries are visible in advance and the requirement to make entries in person at the show secretary's office face-to-face is minimised. Creating a drawn order in advance with specific time allocated slots for each competitor helps manage the event more efficiently and minimises the time that competitors, spectators and support staff have to spend on site, and obviously helps the organiser run the classes on time. Equus Organizer has a unique drawn order tool to speed up the process of drawing random orders, spreading out multi-class entries, and avoids the hassle and time that organisers have to spend cutting and pasting entries and times in and out of spreadsheets. This training video module is about how to use the standard option tool to do this simply, quickly, and effectively within the Equus Organizer system. Randomly drawn orders are the fairest way of allocating competitors a specific starting time slot that they will be expected to adhere to. Done correctly, the times allocated will space out competitors with multi-rides to allow them sufficient time to complete their round and also allow them time to get their next entry ready to compete. Equus Organizer can draw a random order with the correct time breaks between competitors and between classes for a single arena for the entire day in just a few minutes. The administrator can then quickly and simply make changes to the draw as they see fit, moving competitors around to ensure plenty of time is allowed for them to be ready to compete, as well as ensuring there are spare time slots available for contingencies and accommodating late entries. The administrator can similarly view the drawn order for the entire day and decide if any further changes are needed for fairness, or to avoid competitors waiting too long between entries or having insufficient time to switch between horses. Before you draw the order, you first need to set up some of the specific time parameters that you intend to use. This includes the time gap between competitors or entry duration, and obviously this can be different between show jumping, dressage and other events, and then the times between classes as well as the number of spare slots that you want to include as a default for each class. Starting with the gap between competitors that you want for each class, there are several places where it is possible to set this up. There are default configurations that can be set in the company level settings. And there is also a place in the event configuration where you can also set up the entry duration time required. However, these default time settings can each be overridden by the settings in the class configuration, as it is likely that even for different types of class in the same event, the time prescribed for each competitor to complete their round will be different. To set the specific entry duration that you want to use for each class, simply go to the class configuration in the classes grid under Event Management before you draw the order. You will see as you scroll down the class configuration for each individual class midway down the page, there is a configuration setting under Time Configuration, where you can set the time allowed between competitors or entry duration. Here it is set currently for 2 minutes 30 seconds from the default, and you can change this simply by over-typing the time you require, in this case 3 minutes, for the class like this. Save the change, and this will be used when you create the drawn order. You can have different times for each class if this is required, or for some show jumping events, you may want to have the same time allowed for all classes. This can be set up as required. So next, once again before you start the drawn order process, you need to set the time gap that you want to use between each of the classes. For some show jumping classes, this might be longer than for dressage, because of the need to possibly change the course or make changes to the fences that are going to be jumped. To do this, you need to set up some more parameters in the time management part of the administration tab on the main menu. So now, select the administration tab and the time management subsection. From the main menu, If nothing is currently set up, then this section will be completely blank and you will need to click on the Add Item button at the top right-hand side of the screen. First, you need to add in a time for the gap you want between classes, and to do this, in the name box, simply type in gap between classes. Then, under the trigger box, select the After Each Class option from the drop-down menu. Now set the time duration to the amount of minutes you want to break after each class. In this case, 15 mins exactly. Ignore the competitor frequency box and save the changes. You will see your change has been saved and that it is now active to use. So now you need to configure the number of spare drawn order time slots that you want to provide in each class. So once again, select the Add Item button on the top right of the screen, and this time in the name box, type Spare Entries Drawn Order. In the trigger box, select Every X Competitors. And in the duration box, type in the time you previously configured between competitors for the classes. Then, in the competitor frequency box, choose how frequently you want to add in an extra spare slot. So in this case, it is set to add in 1 spare entry for every 5 existing entries that you have in the class at the time the order is drawn. So if you had 10 entries at the time, the system would automatically add in 2 extra spare time slots. All of these can be changed later at the time you draw the order, but this is just the default that you want to use to save time. Make sure that you tick the spare entry box, as this will make sure that these time slots can be used to assign late entries without affecting the time allocated drawn order. Once completed, save the changes and they will again appear in the time management grid you have created. Once again, these are just the default times that you can use, and they can be changed each time you draw an order if necessary. Now that you have set up the main time parameters for the drawn order, you can go directly to the main menu and select Drawn Order, and in this case, the Standard Drawn Order option. So this is how quickly you can draw an order with Equus Organizer once the time parameters have been set up. First, you need to go to the Events screen and select the event. This event is on the 2nd of September and has 75 entries across 12 classes, with multiple sections for split classes as dictated by the schedule. So if we select the Drawn Order tab and the Standard option from the main menu on the left-hand side of the screen, we can see there are a total of 10 different classes, some of which are split classes. You need now to select the first class of the event and access the drawn order for that class. You will see here that there are a number of entries for the first class and that they are all on the left-hand side of the screen under Entered. The first thing to do is to press the Declare All button here, so that the entries move across from the left to the right-hand side of the screen under the Declared section. The entries in all the other classes will have been moved across at the same time, and the classes will all be closed for entries. The system also locks the entries in the system at this stage so that they cannot be removed from the system by the administrator until they have been withdrawn either in the collecting ring or here in the Drawn Order using the Withdraw button. You are now ready to draw the order for the entire day in this arena. As you will see, riders with multiple entries in the class and marked with a shaded background can at this moment be next to each other. When you press Draw the Order button, the system will randomly choose the order in which the competitors will compete in all of the classes that will be run that day in the same arena. If there is more than one arena, then the drawn order can be repeated for each individual arena simply by repeating this process. When the system has finished the task, it automatically spreads out the multiple rides as much as it can and provides a fair way of deciding which competitor will compete in which order. The system also automatically adds in the spare entries that you set up in the system administration time management earlier. You can add more spare entries very simply like this if you need to, or remove them like this. When completed, if you are not happy with the draw as it stands, you can change the position of any of the competitors to any preferred time slot by just dragging and dropping them like this. Or alternatively, by clicking on this move button and typing in the position where you want it to go like this. You can see how simple and easy this is to do. Once I am happy with the position in the draw for all of the competitors across each of the classes, I can then press the Allocate Times button here to allot specific times for each competitor, from the starting time that has already been set in the class configuration to 9 AM. As you can see, the selected time gap between each of the competitors is 3 minutes, and the gap between classes is 15 minutes, as you previously configured them in the time management section. When you are ready and satisfied with the times for each of the classes, you can see a preview of the entire drawn order for the day in this arena by clicking on the Publish button. Once again, after reviewing the order, you can go back and change any of the orders in any of the classes as required. And then, when you are ready, if you press the Confirm button at the bottom of the drop-down list, this will then automatically publish the entire drawn order onto your website using the widget integration software we have created and embedded on your website. The system then sends out an email direct to the individual competitors confirming the times that they are competing on that day, as well as attaching a PDF version of the entire drawn order for the day, so they can also see the times where their friends, travelling companions and family will be competing as well. I think you will agree this is a simpler, faster and better way to manage the frustrating task of drawing an order, and will save you a significant amount of time. So to summarise this first part of video training module 4, drawing an order with allocated time slots using the standard drawn order tool in Equus Organizer. Drawn orders are now a very important, if time-consuming, part of running equestrian events, and Equus Organizer has an easy-to-use onboard tool to simplify, help, and save you time. The first 2 initial steps are to set up the time parameters required to draw an order so that everything runs smoothly, and then to draw the order as quickly as possible to then check that the times are fair and all the competitors have sufficient time to compete to the best of their ability. Part 2 of this video training module 4 that follows will show you how to download a PDF of the drawn order for duplication and distribution as required, and how to take late entries and integrate them into the original drawn order. That's all from me for now. Thank you again for your time watching this video, but remember you can always call Equus Innovation to get direct support at any time on the number shown here, and select Support. Good luck, and see you again very soon.